Keeping up with technology is a challenge in itself. Keeping it safe is another. CyberVerse Advisors says it has the software, the expertise, and the international footprint to help company systems, large and small, better face the challenges of cybercrime. Its founder is passionate about the post-pandemic world of work, about education for all, and cycling. I'm Andrew Wilson, and I'm here in Davos to talk to Rodrigo Loureiro. Rodrigo, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, tell us a bit about CyberVerse, because this is a new venture for you, isn't it?
Absolutely a new venture. It's a new venture after almost 3 decades. Hard at work in the corporate world, and then decided to make my own mark and bring to the market what I learned over the last 3 decades.
But there are plenty of consultants around. I mean, what does CVA bring to the table that's different?
I like to think that I'm different in terms of a consultant because I've actually done it. I've actually been on the ground. I've took on companies, I took them public, I built a cybersecurity program for them. So I'm not the consultant that walks in the door, takes a check, and then walks out in the next month.
So what can clients expect from your software, from your systems?
What they can expect from our software solutions is 30 years of experience. I spent 30 years developing cybersecurity programs for large banks, large telecom companies, and I spent 7 years bringing to maturity a very significant cybersecurity program for the largest university network in the world, a university network that had 65 universities spread across 27 countries, servicing more than 1 million students. And what I did was I created a novel approach to cybersecurity, an approach that secures the servers, we call them the assets, secures the identities and secures the people. And by bringing together the people that work on the assets, on the servers, and their identities, we create a complete 360-degree vision of all the environment on your security. You know, we answer the question, who did what and when? And that is the answer that the leaders of the companies today are looking in terms of cybersecurity to really understand what is going on in their systems and identify the vulnerabilities, identify the gaps in their cybersecurity coverage, and that is what the software is doing. It essentially codifies 30 years of experience of developing this cybersecurity into a software solution.
I mean, how serious is the security issue these days? How safe or unsafe are we?
Well, the short answer is that nobody knows. This is a huge problem because cybersecurity, all of our lives are now in the digital universe. We have trusted all of these companies that we work with, and we put there all of our knowledge, all of our identities, all of our experiences. And there are cybercrime organizations trying to get that information, and the hard reality is that companies are spending millions upon millions of dollars in trying to secure, and yet they don't feel safe.
But it moves, doesn't it? Every year it's a different story. It changes, the dynamic changes.
Absolutely, every year it changes. I always tell my people and all the people that I work with that standing still is actually going backwards. So you cannot rest on your laurels because the world is ever evolving. It's increasingly going digital, and it's opening up the frontiers to the entire world. Traditionally, you deal with the security that is local. The people that are out to get you are the local people. With the internet and the digital universe, everybody everywhere in the world can come and get your information and all of your financials.
And working practices have shifted as well. We've had a pandemic, things have changed. Is the timing of your launch relevant, do you think, to that?
Absolutely, it's absolutely relevant. You know, we had some very difficult 2 last years, our society and our world in general. Our entire society, the way people look at the way that they're doing, what is valuable for them has changed. I myself find part of that movement, or that big movement that people say that it's the great resignations. Some people call it the great rethinking. And I found myself after 2 years of the pandemic, although in a very successful corporate career, finding myself, I need to do more. And that's why I started CyberVerse Advisors.
Well, you've had a great rethink. What about your target market? I mean, you've been in international education for past 7 years, but is that the sector you're going to go for, or is this more broad-based?
You know, people always go to what they're familiar with and what they work with. So obviously, yes, I start in higher education. That's what I've been working for the past 7 years. But the financial market, which I've worked for a decade before I joined my previous company, is also a target for me. Governments are a huge target because, unfortunately, government organizations are very weak in terms of cybersecurity, and I believe that our connective platform, our new approach of securing the environment can bring a value to all organizations of all size, although that we are focusing on large complex organizations, because those large complex organizations, especially those that span multiple regions, have problems that are very specific to them, primarily related to the disparate systems that they have. When an organization grows, there's a lot of legacy, a lot of systems that they inherited from other companies, acquisitions, or local leaders have implemented different technologies. And bringing order to all of these disparate systems, all of these systems that don't talk to each other, it's very important for us. And the big message, the big thing that I'm bringing in terms of our software is to bring the interoperability of these different cybersecurity technologies that the company has across all of its environment, and bringing that into one centralized view of the systems that can ensure that the leaders of the company can go at night sleep because they know that they're doing the best, and they will not make basic mistakes, and they will cover and protect their data.
I mean, very briefly, that's one of the challenges of heritage software is how to unpick it, without tearing it all up and starting again, which is almost impossible in most systems. How do you integrate new ideas into?
I would say that it's a battle that we're not going to win. You know, when I started my career about 30 years ago, people were already talking about, and I'm going to be a little bit technical, they were already talking about, oh, we're going to get rid of this thing that is called COBOL, which is a very old programming language. Well, COBOL is still around. These large systems, large legacy systems are still around. So the secret that I found for my success in my career was to make systems work together. And that's really the key for me, is to bring that interoperability of systems, to interconnect all of the systems, gather all the data across all of these systems, and really make them work together. Because these systems, legacy systems, are highly complex, and most organizations don't want to take the risk of rewriting millions of lines of code in order to bring a completely new system.
Now, you've long been a passionate supporter of education around the world, particularly in developing countries. Cycling Unbound is another of your projects. You've got a website, there are programs. Is this a hobby for you, or another pillar to the bigger story?
It's another pillar to the bigger story. It's another component of the great rethink. Because yes, I've had a very successful career. Yes, I'm going to have a very successful career with my new venture on CyberVerse Advisors and working with a connective platform. But I think there's more. We need to give back to our society. And the way that I'm giving back to my society is through cycling. Cycling saved my life. Once upon a time, I was over 250 pounds. Today, I'm more regular. I still have a few pounds to shed, but I'm healthy. And I'm healthy because of cycling. Cycling Unbound is the way that I found to give back to the society, to talk to the society, to talk to the people, give an understanding of what is the value of cycling. Cycling as a way to improve your health. Cycling as a way to understand your communities. Because when you are going in a car 60 miles per hour on the road, you really don't know what the society, what the road is all about. When you're going at 15, 20 miles per hour, you get to know, you become part of that community. So cycling is very important. Providing access to cycling is very important. And I took my inspiration from one of a very charismatic leader, Doug Ryder, who is the leader of Team Quebec, and his mission is to bring bicycles to Africa. And bringing bicycles to Africa allows people in Africa to access education, because kids in Africa, they have to go for 2 or 3 hours in order to get to school. With bicycles, they can make those trips much more accessible. So cycling, yes, it's a passion. Yes, it became started as a hobby, but it's really something, a big pillar for my great rethink.
So where we are now, is this what you call the great resignation? Are we at a pivotal moment in how we do business, how we define our professions?
I think we are. I think we are. Really, this model of life, if you really think at our society, we live in a society that basically works the same way as it did 50 or 60 years ago. Our parents got in a car in the morning, went to office, and came back at night. And they didn't really live with each other. Now, technology can fix this. You can work from home. You can work remotely. You can work in the slopes of the Swiss Alps and still be productive and still contribute to your company. So the great rethink is that, can technology improve our lives instead of deteriorating our lives? We don't want to be slaves of email, answering emails at 2 a.m. in the morning, but technology can also liberate us. It can create what is now being called the flexible work model, where you work from the office when it's needed, but you work from home with your family when that improves your life.
Final thought, Rodrigo. So bearing in mind CyberVerse, the new venture, and what you're saying about people changing the way they work and changing their lives, particularly post-pandemic, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. I'm an optimist person by nature. There was never a challenge that I didn't want to take on. This is a new challenge that I'm taking on. And I do think that everywhere we look, especially right now with a pandemic, with a war going on in Europe, it's very easy for us to become negatives. But I think we can fight the negativism, and we can take a look and a positive outlook on our lives and our future. And I think technology and cybersecurity play a critical role in improving our lives.
Rodrigo Loureiro, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.